A Colombian drug lord is relaxing in a jacuzzi with a woman when suddenly, a sniper shoots him once, killing him instantly in the water. A former Marine is spending the evening, in a motel in Virginia while binge drinking. He decides to end things for himself, after looking at some images of his old squad, and realizing how many of them are no longer alive, not to mention the PTSD caused by combat. A memorial service is held in his honor a few days later. Former Marine squad member Master Sergeant Brandon laments the loss of his old friend and expresses confusion over his decisions. Wondering how such a legend could come to be, Brandon wonders if it will ever happen to him, as his friend Major Miller points out that a soldier's career might have a negative impact on their mental health. Additionally, Miller has given Brandon a fresh assignment in Colombia to assist the DEA in a crucial case. Brandon declines, because he still needs to deal with his sadness. But Miller ignores him and forces him to board the agency's private jet, in the vehicle that is already waiting for him. Hours later, Brandon reaches Bogotá, where the driver who picked him up can't stop gushing about him, due to Brandon's illustrious past as an elite shooter. When they arrive at the National Police Headquarters, Brandon is greeted by Captain Garza, the police chief who serves as a liaison between the American DEA and the Colombian police, as well as Santiago, the officer who has been designated as his observer, and last but not least is Master Gunnery Sergeant Beckett, who also happens to be Brandon's dad. Father and son still address each other by their rank to maintain professionalism, even though they are quite delighted to see each other again after a long. As the meeting gets underway, Brandon finds out that Morales, the cartel's leader in Colombia, is his target. His empire specializes in bringing in children from the streets and raising them as his own, controlling 60% of the channels via which contraband reaches the U.S. border thugs. They know he's back because in the past 3 days, all of Morales' competitors have shown up dead, including the man in the jacuzzi. His network is impossible to detect, and he hasn't been seen in 10 years. The challenge of such shot shows, since this sniper has military experience, Morales must have paid him to eliminate the opposition. According to recent intelligence, Morales will soon be on his farm. The agents want to raid the location, but Brandon declined their request because he dislikes babysitting. Agent Kate from the DEA, who is enraged since they began the meeting without her, and this is happening as they are having an argument, enters the scene quickly. Is what she does. She has brought all of the farm's material for them to study, and she is wondering if Brandon will accept the task. Brandon is honest when he says that he despises doing tasks of this nature, but that he will follow instructions. The following day, while Brandon and Santiago remain concealed in the woods, Kate's DEA agents and Garza's police make their way to the farm. Agent Sampson of Homeland Security joins Beckett. As he watches the live broadcast from the office, Sampson is concerned that Beckett and Kate are spending time and resources on unconfirmed intelligence. The squad parks their truck safely away and sneaks up behind them on foot. They hide in the trees until it's necessary to attack. The squad rushes in and kicks down the home door as soon as Beckett gives them the go-ahead, only to learn that this sets off a trap and causes the entire building to blow up. The agents in the back are able to escape the explosion, but the agents in the front are all killed, with the exception of Garza, who is abruptly shot in the leg by the sniper hired by Morales. In hiding behind the farm vehicle is Kate, resolves to go to him, in an effort to aid him in escaping, but as soon as she takes him up, the sniper fires once more, killing Garza there and then. Brandon can now locate the target and shoot back, thanks to this shot, but the other sniper dodges the bullet just in time, and escapes before Brandon can try again. Later, when Sampson storms into the police station to demand an explanation for what transpired, they come to the conclusion that someone on the force must have been selling information. Kettle and Brandon also point out that the sniper held off on firing at Garza once again in favor of waiting for Kate to emerge. Hence, shooting Garza's leg had served as bait, and she had been his intended target all along, only because Kate unintentionally placed Garza between her and the shooter did the second shot miss. Sampson wants to call off the entire mission, but Kate won't give up without a fight. After a particularly heated exchange, Brandon decides to break the impasse and offer the squad 48 hours to find the enemy and accept going home if they fail. Following the encounter, Beckett informs Brandon that the other sniper likely recognizes him as a result of the shot, so he had better take care. Brandon then proceeds to the DEA safe house in Las Cruces, where he will be residing while he is working in Colombia, to claim his room. Brandon still believes that any competent sniper could simply shoot into any of the rooms, regardless of how many times the other agents claim that the security is top-notch. Meanwhile, El Diablo, the sniper hired by Morales, is having fun with his girlfriend when he receives a call telling him Kate and Brandon are staying in the DEA safe house. Once, El Diablo was unable to slay them, so now is his time to make amends for his error. Back to Brandon. He is reading an article online about the passing of his friend, when it is mentioned that there is a crisis in the military, as a result of the fact that the majority of troops leave the service, carrying a variety of mental diseases. He is abruptly interrupted by Kate, who thanks him for his assistance during the meeting, before revealing that she has never lost a man under her control, and that she is finding it difficult to deal with it. The way Garza had been shot also struck her as odd, and Brandon concurs. According to the principles of physics, the shot the sniper was able to execute should be impossible. Kate argues that she wants Morales instead of the sniper, but Brandon points out that Kate's narrow-mindedness has resulted in the deaths of other individuals, because Garza has offended her. Kate rushes out the room and sobs as she gets into the lift. She regrets his passing, because he had been a dear friend of hers, while Brandon continues to look into new bullet types, and uses a radio to check on Santiago's guard shift. Kate goes out for a drink at a well-known pub, where she has to use force against a harasser, who lets his hands wander too far. She then meets with Carlos, a priest well-liked in the neighborhood for his assistance to those in need. Carlos believes Kate should give up because she can't win against someone as deadly as Morales, but she continues to fight. As a result, Carlos decides to offer what little knowledge he does have. El Diablo, the sniper, is well known, and since Morales recruited him, he ought to be aware of where his hiding place is. Carlos agrees to get in touch with Karen if he learns anything new before departing. When Santiago finally spots something threatening, he hurriedly telephones Brandon back at the safe house, and Brandon dashes to the roof with his own weapon. Santiago is right, there is a sniper concealed in the distance. At this point, Brandon and El Diablo are waiting patiently to see who will fire first. The first person to fire is Brandon, but El Diablo quickly avoids the shot before firing back. Brandon decides to remain there for a time, after running away and hiding behind a wall, in the hopes that El Diablo will think he is dead. The following morning, the crew locates the bullet and speaks with Miller through video conference to gain his insight on the situation. With the use of laser guidance technology, you can control the trajectory of this intelligent bullet. El Diablo might not actually be a former soldier or even a skilled marksman. The bullets are merely doing the work for him. Miller confirms Brandon's concerns by pointing out that this safe house isn't particularly secure. Samson adjourns the meeting after pledging to call the CIA to locate a suitable shelter. While Morales is playing games with his lads in his safe house, he is also teaching them to stand up for what is rightfully theirs without fear, which causes many of them to fear him more than to appreciate him. After that, Morales returns to his office with the intention of calling El Diablo, but discovers him sitting there already. El Diablo requests payment for all the rivals he has slain, but Morales refuses because he didn't finish the job by also killing Kate or Brandon, and he expelled El Diablo from his home, on the grounds that he wasn't truly in need of him. The following morning, Kate receives a call from Carlos, who has learned that El Diablo has a girlfriend. As they are driving to a new safe house, he texts Kate the address while cautioning her to exercise caution, because Morales' men are in charge of the neighborhood. After she hangs up, Kate informs Brandon that she has learned he isn't concerned with the operation itself, and is only interested in finding the sniper, because his ammunition is superior to his abilities. Brandon acknowledges that it is true, but before he can continue, a truck runs over the automobile. When a group of men working for Morales emerge from the truck and begin to fire on them, Brandon and the police officers who had been accompanying them shoot back, while Kate flees in search of cover. Sadly, Santiago also passes away along with all of Morales' thugs. When Kate unintentionally drops her phone on the car seat, Brandon finds Kate is gone and sees that the address Carlos sent is still visible on the phone screen. Kate notices there are many males watching her as soon as she enters this seedy district. When Kate reveals her badge to Morales' girlfriend Mara, who answers the door at the correct location, Mara tries to close it right away. Mara pushes Kate back so that Morales' men may arrest Kate when she tries to stop her, but this draws the attention of all the thugs, who are now encircling her. A fight breaks out between Kate and the men, and although landing a few blows, she is ultimately defeated and pinned against the wall. Brandon appears and starts shooting the goons as they queue up to take advantage of her. Several of them are killed, but one escapes on a bike that was taken, and Karen is able to apprehend the final one. Fortunately, Brandon surprises Mara from behind, and the confusion enables Kate to disarm her, just as Mara is ready to knock him out, by threatening her with a gun. She also removes Mara's locket, which contains a photograph of Mara and El Diablo. Brando also informs him that they were ambushed earlier, indicating that someone is still snooping on them. Brandon sends his father a picture of it so they can run it through the database with face recognition software. He and Kate won't even tell Beckett the address. They'll be hiding somewhere else until they figure out who, as opposed to the designated shelter. Samson, who is feeling stressed out at the station about the whole thing, tries to accuse Beckett of giving his son too much control over the operation, but Beckett dismisses him. In order for Carlos to temporarily hide them, Kate chooses to bring Brandon to her former area. Given that Morales is friends with numerous influential people, not to mention all the small-time criminals who look up to him, the priest isn't surprised to learn that Morales has spies in the police. Carlos agrees to give some names he is aware of. After Kate learns that interfering with Morales' network may prompt him to emerge from his hiding place. Around the course of the next few days, numerous bodies belonging to Morales' employees, including his banker, start to show up all around the town. Brandon, who has been eliminating every name Carlos might give, is solely responsible for this. Brandon is out of control, and Miller phones Beckett to let him know, but Beckett has no idea where to look for his son. Carlos lends Brandon a sympathetic ear one evening, and Brandon learns about the Marine who passed away earlier. It all began, Carlos adds that the only way to prevent such a death is to forgive yourself for the moral harm you've inflicted, because Brando is still concerned about it happening to him. Meanwhile, Morales finally emerges from his hiding location, but only to visit Mara's home to search for El Diablo. He promises El Diablo considerably more money if he stops Brandon. Since he is tired of losing men, he also pays El Diablo all the money he owes him in one go. Later, Samson and Beckett give Miller a call to let him know what they've learned about El Diablo, an ex-sniper whose real name is Enrique Defense. 9 months ago, he crossed the border from Venezuela to Colombia, but they were unable to find him once he was there. Samson wants Miller to remove Kate and Brandon from the operation, but Miller objects, saying that they are now contributing more to the objective than anybody else. In the meantime, El Diablo buys information on Father Carlos by paying a local man to reveal where Kate and Brandon are hiding. Later that night, Kate receives an enigmatic message from Carlos instructing her to meet him at the plaza at 10 p.m., but when she tries to phone him, Carlos doesn't pick up. Since it is definitely a trap, Kate and Brandon enter a building in front of the square and wait for a sign that El Diablo might be there. A van pulls up by the park a little while later, and Kate immediately recognizes the men, getting out of it as the thugs from Mara's neighborhood. Before leaving again, these men do something enigmatic behind the truck, and after it has been relocated, Kate and Brandon are surprised to see Carlos bound to a park tree. Brandon prevents Kate from leaving and reminds her that El Diablo is luring her into going and saving him. Brandon decides to fire the rope in an attempt to save Carlos, but his shot only grazes the object, and reveals their location to El Diablo. Fortunately, Brandon hits Carlos with a second shot and frees him, before El Diablo fires on them and they flee. This infuriates El Diablo, who then murders Carlos as retaliation. The following day, Kate and Brandon join the rest of the village in saying goodbye to the priest. Standing behind the throng, Brandon spots the man who recently rode off on a bike, and decides to pursue him. He follows the man across a few streets before catching up with him. The person initially presents himself as tough, but when Brandon tells him that Morales murdered the community's beloved priest, the thug breaks down in tears because Carlos used to assist him when he was also living on the streets. The boy agrees to divulge the location of Morales' hiding place, after Brandon assures him that the DEA would provide witness protection. With this knowledge, Morales is located and finally captured by Samson's squad. In a couple of minutes, he will now be brought to Miami to face charges before an American federal court. Brandon is concerned that El Diablo will attempt to prevent Morales from traveling to Miami and reveal their secrets, and he is correct. A few days later, El Diablo is traveling to the USA with a very convincing false passport. He contacts his bullet supplier, who has already left him a car with new weapons waiting for him. After smoothly navigating customs, Brandon, Kate, and Beckett observe Morales' government helicopter arrival at the Homestead Air Reserve Base in Florida. Then, with Miller's help, they come up with a defense strategy against El Diablo, because they know he'll try to attack. When Morales is being driven to Miami, Miller then tells them that the ammunition El Diablo is using have been mysteriously missing from the DEA's own vault, proving that his mole wasn't working for the Colombian police, but was instead working for them. When Samson shows up to assist with transportation, Brandon explains the strategy to him. Their agents will lead a convoy that guards a car with a false Morales inside, to tempt El Diablo into disclosing his whereabouts, while the real Morales will be driving in a different vehicle. The van will appear to be from a laundry service. The convoy leaves the air base and heads out onto the road, where a bunch of criminals are already waiting, while Kate, Brandon, Miller, and Samson locate a spot on a roof to prepare for El Diablo. The convoy isn't attacked, which is surprising, and the thugs don't even get out of their cars until the van arrives, as if they had known about the ruse all along. They were likely dispatched by the mole to conceal his identity from Morales' confession. El Diablo waits for the van to arrive as well, and when it does, he shoots it to get it to stop, at which point the thugs get out of their cars and start shooting at the van. Miller effortlessly dispatches all of these men, and after realizing that they were unable to do so, El Diablo reloads to ensure that the van's occupants are also dead. After the van explodes, Brandon knows exactly where El Diablo is, and only needs a few seconds to aim and successfully kill him. The convoy keeps moving towards Miami, where it is discovered that Morales was actually hiding beneath the hood, and that the van was only a ruse. In actuality, the team used a remote control to move the van. While it was fully empty, Samson is arrested by Kate, Miller, and Brandon, after it is discovered that he has been the source of information for Morales and El Diablo. Throughout the entire period, Sampson made an attempt to refute it, but Miller's IT team had already gained access to his phone, and only needed to catch him in the act. Since the texts contained fictitious identities and offered no proof, this prompts Sampson to finally acknowledge his involvement, and admit that he worked with Morales, because he believed the Kingpin to be their greatest bet for averting the detonation of an atomic weapon. Kate punches Sampson in the name of Garza and Carlos, because she can't believe so many people died for this. Miller returns to Washington after seizing Sampson. Beckett believes it's time to retire, because he's experienced enough action to last him a lifetime. Before leaving, he gives his kid a heartfelt hug. Additionally, he emphasizes how well-matched Kate and Brandon are, and Brandon acknowledges that playing babysitter for the DEA might not be such a bad idea after all. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it, to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.